name is Joanne Mwangi. I'm the founder and CEO of Professional Marketing Services Group, commonly known as the PMS Group. At Professional Marketing Services, we're an all-round marketing communications agency, meaning that we take your brand from conception to consumption. Well, I don't know where to start because I'll start as far as I remember. I just remember that when I joined kindergarten, my mother tells me I used to run away from kindergarten and I would go back home. And when she would ask me why I went back home, I would say it's because I'm not being taken to the big school, meaning primary school, where my sisters and brothers were. And so I think I trace back my ambition to that early stage where I was always very, very competitive. I wanted to do as good as the next person. And so maybe that's where it started. I would also say that I remember in primary school, one of the most memorable things that happened is that we had prize giving when I was in standard 1. And had then Royal Highness, would I call her that? The Mayor of Nairobi, her worship was Margaret Kenyatta, the late Margaret Kenyatta. And when she came, it was my first time to see a woman coming in, and there was a big motorcade. And when she came and she was giving us the prizes, there was an entourage. And I said, oh my goodness, when I grow up, I want to be like her. So that was the first time that I got very, very ambitious and that I got the chance to see somebody really in a position that inspired me and mentored me. But you know, these things are subliminal. You're not aware that you're learning. It's only now on reflection that I see that I was learning from so early on from these role models. I went to Our Lady of Mercy Primary School and then joined Alliance Girls High School. And I think Alliance also was a place that shaped me, because in Alliance, the one thing we were told is that anything a man can do, you can do better. It has been a positive lesson, and also a negative lesson. A positive lesson because you're never afraid to venture, and also a negative lesson because in real life, especially in relationships, you do need to also adhere to the fact that there's sometimes you have to step back and be humble and submissive. And so having that blend is important. My first job was selling advertising space for the Standard newspapers. So I have a long history with the media, and it exposed me to advertising. It showed me the power of advertising, because we could see brands that start so small and the next thing you know, it's a huge brand. I'll give you an example of brands like Bidco. When Bidco was starting, we started working with them, or rather I started working with them when they were still very young in industrial area, and we used to go see them there. And now they're a big Pan-African giant. So seeing brands grow like that has also been a great inspiration for me. I think working at Colgate, which was my second job after leaving the Standard, is what changed my life absolutely and caused me to be who I am today. There was a lot of professionalism at Colgate, and so I learned to be professional. I also learned that standards are not something that you mess around with. It's black or white. There's no gray area. And so in my work, I like to believe that quality is one of the things that we can be known for as PMS Group. I also realized from Colgate that if you do a great job, you need to do one big job as opposed to many small things that don't get the traction and media attention that you're looking for. So when we do our promotions and our concepts for our clients, we always think, what is that thing that's going to have the wow effect and that's going to be memorable? What's the one thing everybody will be able to remember after this activity, after this event, after this PR campaign, whatever it is that we are doing for our clients? That's what we want people to remember.
We shall be discussing the most interesting things.
This company is going to be 25 years this year. So when you look back, you can see that I definitely did not have a business plan, because those days, whereas today you have a lot of entrepreneurship, mentorship, you have role models, we didn't really have a lot of that. Anybody who was in entrepreneurship was known as Juakali. So essentially, by the time I was starting, I was leaving an international organization to go into Juakali. So you would ask yourself, why? And you know, it sounds crazy, you know, but for me, really, it was because of two main reasons. When I was working at Colgate, I had learned a lot. It was awesome. I loved my job, you know, and I was on a fast track. But I realized two things. One, there was a glass ceiling. And two, all the time expatriates would come and they would be earning more than I was earning by far, and yet I was doing most of the donkey work. And so I said, why don't I get out and do something that will really pay me for what I'm worth? But secondly, we were struggling to get anybody to come and run our promotional campaigns as an agency. Those days there were not many agencies. The market was wide open. And so I said, if I step out, I have the opportunity to start something that could service Colgate among other clients. And so that's exactly what I did. And the timing was perfect. So I would say that the fact that, that PMS has survived these years is part the fact that we are very, very talented people at PMS, and two, the fact that we started when the market was ripe. I'm looking for entrepreneurs that are committed, hardworking, and have a don't give up attitude. First of all, when I left Colgate, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. You know, I had some savings, and I really knew I wanted to do something else. But I stayed home for 2 months without having decided exactly what I wanted. I was doing my research. So I didn't do what I would advise today. Today I would advise you, while you're still working, to test out your side hustle. And then when the side hustle starts making enough money or equal to what you're currently making or close, so that you know that with your attention it will make the same or more, then that's the time you step out. But I did the opposite. I stepped out and tried it without any idea whether it was going to work or not. Actually, I didn't even know what exactly I was going to do. And so I had two options. One is that I knew I could go into manufacturing, because having worked at Colgate, of course, I understood manufacturing. I was in the plant. I knew the supply chain. I knew how to do my P&L. Colgate really was a brilliant employer. And so I could have gone into manufacturing. I did all the homework for how I could start a soap manufacturing plant. And then I looked again and I said, no, I still want to do marketing. And so let me follow the first idea I had. And that's how PMS was formed. Starting a company is very hard, because you start off by registering the company, doing your stationery, looking for an office, buying your first computer, buying, in those days, a fax machine, paying Kenya Post and Telecommunication for them to give you a landline. And by the time I'd finished doing that, I had no money. I'd run out of all the savings that I had. And so when I started looking for work and I got my first client, I didn't have the capital to actually do the job. And you can imagine, you've been chasing this job for so long, and then when it comes, you don't have the money to do it. And of course, when client asked me, do you have the capacity? I said, of course I do, So now here I was having sleepless nights. But I was very lucky, because I had friends who believed in me, lent me money, I did the job and I paid. And I would say that the first thing is that whatever you do, pay your debts, because those are the same people who later on help you to cross the next bigger, wider bridge. They create that bridge for you, because rivers just keep getting bigger. Sometimes they seem like oceans, and you got to cross somehow, So you need your friends, and your reputation is the most important thing that you can have, your credibility. So I started building my credibility early with my suppliers and with my creditors. And so that was part of why I was able to survive. In terms of distribution, you said that you want some of this money so that you can attend trade fairs, etc. Yeah. I made many, many mistakes. First, remember, I had been working in marketing. I had never done an invoice in my whole life. So suddenly I'm doing invoice, I'm in charge of finance, and my finance department was in my handbag. So I would mix the business money, my personal money, other people's money. I wouldn't know what is what. I didn't keep proper books of accounts. And I had no idea whether I was going or coming when it came to financials. And that would be what I would say the first step somebody needs to worry about. The finances are the heart of your business. Always keep track of whether you're making money or losing money. Because if you're losing money, the sooner you take remedial action, the better it is for you and the higher your chances of survival. If you're making money, then also the sooner you know that you're in a flash period, the better, because then you save for a rainy day and you invest wisely. So for any entrepreneur, finance is the place to really, really focus. Obviously, you don't have a business if you don't have customers. So identifying what are the pain points for your customers, your client, whoever it is in society that you want to serve, what really is bothering them, and how can you solve that problem? Because the minute you solve a problem, somebody is willing to pay for their peace of mind. I also see that your vision is in line with what we do. I love most seeing an idea become a product. You can imagine somebody walking through these doors and telling us, oh, I'm thinking I want to launch X. And we sit down, we conceptualize it from the beginning. We create the brand, we create the packaging, and then we see the product live. We provide the places that they're going to sell. We create the pipeline by doing the distribution, getting them into the supermarkets if it's a supermarket product, but getting them into pharmacies, getting them into schools, whoever it is that's using the product, you know, getting it into their hands, and then also sharing the message, creating that message and saying that memorable message that everybody will be saying about your product. Because if you don't tell them what to say about your product, they're going to say something else. Huh? We create that message that becomes repeatable. And once it's repeated, it becomes truth. And once it's truth, it becomes what your product stands for. That's really what you're selling. And that's what we create. And when we see our brands becoming successful, becoming market leaders, being used across the board, going even out of Kenyan borders into the region, into the world, that's the most exciting thing. I think the second most exciting thing for me is seeing people walk through the PMS doors, so naive, so green, so unprofessional. They don't even know how to write a proper email. And by the time they're leaving, they're actually leaving sometimes to set up a competitor for PMS. I mean, it's really exciting for me. People think that I should be unhappy, but it's very, very gratifying to me because it tells me that my efforts, first and foremost, have borne fruit in terms of teaching, because I'm a mother, so I'm a mentor, you know, I have to mentor the people who walk through these doors. And then secondly, the fact that I am being emulated means that there must be something admirable about what we are doing at PMS. So I find that one of the highest compliments we get, and that gives me a high. It gives me a really big high.
Now, I've looked at your planogram for the business, and I'm not seeing anywhere where you're ironing.
I've never seen myself as a woman being less. It has never been in my DNA. So maybe it's partly because, as I told you, in Alliance, we're told anything a man can do, you can do better. So maybe it started from my formative years that I knew I didn't have to worry about being a woman. I thought being a woman was a plus. So I've always seen a woman as being a woman as a positive as opposed to it being a negative. And for that reason, it has never been a bottleneck for me. But that said, there are certain peculiarities about being a woman that really you have to be cognizant of. One is the fact that when you start having a family, the parenting role really does take a toll on you. And I can tell you that whether it is while you're pregnant or whether it's when you have a new baby, your days become extremely long and you're trying to juggle work, you're trying to juggle family, it's really hard, you know? So being time poor as a woman is one of the greatest challenges that I faced. And then secondly, as a woman, one of the things that I would say I didn't realize, I was a young, beautiful girl. So, you know, when I would go to people's offices, there'd be those men who give me business because I look good and they think that they can get somewhere with me. But for me, I was blind to it. So I guess it didn't affect me as much, you know. When I look back, I can now understand what they were getting at, but I didn't. I was so naive, I was so blind, I didn't see it. And that was my plus. So as I said, I was a business person who happened to be a woman as opposed to a woman who happened to be a businesswoman. And that's the difference, I would say, between me and a lot of women. From the stories I hear, I don't know the reality. The things that are most different today really don't affect women only. I think they affect everybody. First and foremost is the ease of communication. We used to write letters, print them, and then you drive and deliver them. Today, just a click and your message is everywhere, you know? Everybody who wants to see it. I mean, everybody you want to target, you have a database. You just need to shoot one email and copy everybody, blind copy everybody, and there you are. You've got mailing lists today. We didn't have that. You had to send postal letters, you know? So it makes a very, very big difference, the ease of communication. The second thing that has changed a lot is access to finance. Today, you can go into a bank and just on the basis of your payslip, get a loan. You have cooperatives, many, many cooperative societies that you can borrow from. It was really hard for us. I can tell you that the only people who lent me money were really friends and relatives. The banks wouldn't touch me. I even have an incident where my banker lent me money from his pocket because I had begged and begged and begged, and he could see that, you know, there was no way the bank was going to lend me. So he just got into his pocket and he gave me the money and told me, pay me when you get your money back. And I did, you know. So that's a very big difference. Today, even mobile banking is giving you loans. You know, it's so much easier today. But I would say the biggest change, the biggest difference, the thing that everybody needs to take advantage of is that mentors exist, role models exist. There are networks where you can get information. There are people who are more than willing to help you grow your business. Entrepreneurship is highly recognized, highly applauded. It is one place that everybody is asking you, build your own career, build your own livelihood, create jobs for others, you know? It's not Juakali anymore. You're the best person in the market if you're an entrepreneur. That's how I see this market today. And I think that's the best thing that could happen in Kenya, because Kenyans have it to make it in business.
I meet people, I'm like, Sheke, they tell me, oh, your guys have done this. And I'm like, oh, they're fantastic, aren't they? And I have no clue what they did. Eh?
The entrepreneurship journey is a very lonely journey, because once you start a business, suddenly you're responsible for other people's lives. If you can't pay salaries, people are going to suffer. People won't be able to pay their rent, kids won't go to school, there's so many things. And the weight is very, very heavy. And I did not have a network of a support system or any network that really made me feel that I was getting places. Until one day I was invited for a luncheon that was hosted by an organization called OWIT, the Organization of Women in International Trade. And I met women who are running different types of businesses. And they were sharing their challenges, their joys, and also their learnings. And I suddenly felt I belonged, because these women understood me. We spoke the same language, you know? When I told them that I didn't know how to balance my cash flow, they didn't laugh at me or think I was foolish. Instead, they told me, oh, I also don't know. Who can teach us? And so we looked for somebody who could teach us. And suddenly we all knew how to balance our cash flows. So those are the kind of things I learned at OWIT. And then OWIT sent me for an international meeting, and I was representing Kenya. But at the same meeting, there were other women representing Kenya, and we seemed so fragmented. So when we came back, because other countries were speaking with one voice, I decided, no. We need to get together as women in business and set up a body that we can call our umbrella, so that when we speak with one voice. And so FEWA, the Federation of Women Entrepreneur Association, is just a network of all the women organizations in business, so that when we speak as one voice, we have power. Remember that if you want policy advocacy, the only thing that politicians and the government listen to is numbers. So what we do is that we speak as one voice. So if, for example, women in beadwork have got a challenge, they do not go as just women in beadwork. All of us go and stand as supporters of women in beadwork, and we say, the women in beadwork want this policy intervention. And that way, they listen. We have become a very strong voice. And because of that, the Pan-African network started calling us in. And so I ended up representing women in business at the East African community, and then regionally at FEMCOM. FEMCOM is the female arm of COMESA. So all women in the COMESA region coalesce together in one network, which I chair at the moment. And so FEMCOM really makes sure that women are able to trade across Africa.
That is lovely, and you both look very, very nice.
Thank you.
When you walked down, I thought you were twins. I'm sure you get that a lot. Huh?
Yeah.
So tell me, what would be the benefit of me using the bathworms?
Being on Lions Den, I think, is the best thing that could have happened to me in a long time. For one simple reason, I'm in the place I love being. For me, it's not the TV show, it's the impact it has on young people's lives. Young people watch this program to learn life lessons on how they should run their businesses, to see their fellow youth present ideas and learn from them. There's nothing as good as watching somebody else talk about their business, and it's so easy for you to see what they're doing wrong. But when you're looking at your own business, you don't see what you're doing wrong. So it's very, very nice to have it on Lions Den, because what happens is it's almost like a mentorship program, counseling session, because when young people are speaking about their businesses, other young people are listening to them, are watching them, and they're saying, oh my goody gosh, that's exactly what I should be doing. And so they're improving their businesses. So I feel that my impact with the youth, with other people in business, is doubly amplified by the kind of audience and visibility that Lion's Den gives. For me, I've seen something amazing on Lion's Den. First is the creativity of Kenyans. Every idea is always so good, so good. I can tell you, we turn down ideas not because they're not good, not because they can't work, but usually because the entrepreneur didn't present well. And I think that's an area that is a key learning, that entrepreneurs need to learn how to sell their businesses. Because if you can't sell your business, then you don't get the value that you're worth. People also don't know how to do their valuations.
So how much would a container converted 2-bedroom house like that cost?
Sometimes somebody comes onto the den and they want money. They come with a particular amount of money they want. They've just picked it from the top of their heads. When you look at the business and you go in depth, this person doesn't need that money. They actually can do what they want to do with the money they already have if they worked smarter and more efficiently. And this is an area that I find young people have gotten into this thing of thinking money solves every problem. Really, a lot of the time, money doesn't solve your problems. It's hard work and attention to detail and responsiveness and timeliness that keeps your customers coming back to you. One of the other areas is focus. People have got 10,000 ideas. There's 24 hours to a day. You're only one person. You cannot focus on all these ideas. So you must focus, build one to a point where you can delegate and somebody else can run with it before you move to the next. So I find that that's another area that people get lost. They want to do too many things at the same time. They're in a hurry. You need to prioritize. And obviously, I must say, also working with the people on Lion's Den, I love my fellow lions, you know. It's amazing because our personalities are different, our interests are different, you know. I'm the only farmer on the den, you know. So everybody's always laughing at me because I say, what are you gonna eat if you're not farming, you know? And this is an area that people need to take very seriously, because when you farm, first and foremost, you're working for the environment. Because what are you doing? You're mopping up all the impact, the negative impact we are having on our environment. Because you're creating what? Positive energy. 2, you're building enterprise. People at the grassroots are getting employment through your farming. It's always at the absolute bottom of the pyramid that you're impacting. And finally, the produce you get, you know what you're eating, you know? When I eat my maize, I can tell you where that maize grew. I can tell you that it got manure from this chicken. It feels great. My legacy would be impacting entrepreneurship development in Kenya. And I believe that after my PMS journey is over, I want to actively sit and create a platform where young entrepreneurs can get the kind of support that they need to succeed at the lowest level, so that they're getting support where they really need it. There's nothing as precious as time. And so when you're young, do everything that you want to do. Try. If you want to start a business, start. You know why? There's no better time to fail than the present. Fail now, fail quickly, start again, fail again, start again, fail again. You have time on your side as a young person. Keep failing. Don't worry about failure. You've learned lessons that you couldn't have paid a PhD for. Practical lessons that you have learned. Keep failing, but fail forward. Keep moving forward. Don't give up. That would be the one thing I would say. So start now, start early, start brave, dream big. Don't be afraid of anything. The world is your oyster. Don't just think Nairobi, don't just think Kenya, think the world.